Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have a card for the Butterfly Reflections Ink blog featuring some Lawn Fawn papers, stamps, and dies. I was on the design team in the past, and she invites us back, Vanessa from Butterfly Reflections Ink, to do some guest posts every once in a while, and so I was excited to share some of the awesome new Lawn Fawn products that she has available in the shop. She did a pre-order of Lawn Fawn products, so I was able to get the new Lawn Fawn about 2 days after it was released because she has really fast, excellent shipping. And I picked up a lot of the new stamp sets, but also these great paper pads, and I'm going to be mixing them with some older Lawn Fawn products. You see there that I have the Let's Play stamp set and dies, and I store my stamp sets in Ziploc bags, and then I put magnet sheets in the back of them. They're actually vent covers from Home Depot, and I just cut off a strip and put my dies on it, so that way everything is stored together. I find it a little better than stamp pockets because I can keep the entire Lawn Fawn backing in there, and I don't have to trim that out, and it makes it easy to see in my collection. For today's card, I'm going to be doing a lot of paper piecing, and I am starting with the two different paper pad collections in the 6x6 size. What is nice about these two paper pad collections is that they have really small patterns, which is excellent for card making, but also really great for paper piecing. I find that if you have dots or stripes that are too big, they don't look as good on the small critters, and I think that Lawn Fawn spends a lot of time thinking about how well their products coordinate with each other. And in this card, I'll be using some products from the older releases as well to show you how you can always add the new stuff in with your old stuff. Once I've picked out some pattern papers and I've been thinking about the kinds of stamping and elements I'm going to have on my card, what I usually do is take the 6x6 and cut it into a 4-inch chunk and a 2-inch chunk, because the 4-inch piece of the paper could always be used as a card base later. And so rather than trying to send it through my die cut machine as a whole 6x6 paper, and then I would only essentially be able to cut one thing at a time because that's all that would fit on my Sizzix plate, I'm able to cut several things at one time, and also I know that piece that I've reserved to the side will work well on a card later, and I can, it's enough to use on a full card base. The only one that I didn't do this with was that yellow one, because this sun from the spring showers lawn cut is a little bit bigger than 2 inches. I kept a larger piece of the blue because the blue is going to be the main background color, as I'll be creating a sky with some grass and clouds and the sun, as mentioned before. I'll be using the brown paper to stamp the squirrel and the dog, and then this reddish pink paper to stamp the seesaw. What I'm going to show you today is how I actually do my die cutting. I don't usually show this because I know that a lot of people have plenty of experience with die cut machines, but I just wanted to show you how I tend to line up everything so that I can get more cuts done with one go through the machine. I generally find that it's okay if I have to cut lots of things because my machine is right next to me, but I know that some people like to be able to line it up and get a lot of cuts done at one time to save time when making cards. So I'm stamping all of the different elements that I want to cut out with the coordinating dies in My Favorite Things Black Licorice Hybrid ink. I had considered using the archival ink, which is usually really good for solid stamping, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to add any little Copic details to this. But once I have all the elements cut out in these pint-sized patterns, I thought they were really cute and didn't need that extra touch of marker color. And also, Copic marker doesn't work as well on pattern paper because it's thinner in nature. So here you see how I line them up. I'm going to be using this sort of off-white cream color from the Mon Ami collection for the clouds. I had decided that it would actually be better than using something that was bright white because the white papers from the Beachside collection had little flecks of colors in it and wouldn't work out as well. I use a little bit of washi tape to hold down my dies even though I have a magnetic cutting plate, because in my experience the magnetic cutting plate only works if you have super flat plates, which I do not have. You see here I have that stitched rectangle die only covering a portion of the green piece of paper on the end because I'm going to be using that for the grass, and I want that stitched border around it. So I'll have to cut it twice, once to cut it in the stitched rectangle and then another time with the grass. So you'll see I'll layer the grass on here, and that way the stitching detail will continue all the way around the entire pattern, or the entire panel that I'm using. And again, when I add the tape to keep it more secure, I try to be careful that I don't put the tape on the portions that I will actually be using. So the tape is facing on the outside of the die, because sometimes with the Sizzix plate it puts a lot of pressure on it, and the tape can be the impression of the tape can be pressed into the paper, and I don't want that look. So it just definitely takes a lot of knowing your machine and knowing what it's comfortable with. Like in this instance, that grass is a little bit hard to get out. I probably should have sent it through the machine again, but over time you get to know your machine and how it will work. Once I have all of my elements cut out, I'm going to start layering them on. With the grass and the sun both, I decide not to add any adhesive behind the little details like the rays of the sun or the blades of grass, because I actually want to be able to pull them up and just give a little bit of dimension with that. And I will be later on also adding pop dots just to give a small amount of dimension to my card under some of the elements. So you see there that I'm just kind of pulling up the grass and the sun rays for that little bit of, like I said, texture and dimension. And I chose to cut 3 clouds because, as I've mentioned before in the past, odds always look better, and so I'll be adding those sporadically throughout. But I wanted to think about what were the most important things in my scenes, what would take up the most room. I'm using multimedia matte to glue down these little elements. It generally works really good. You see there that was a little bit difficult for me to squeeze out because I'm getting towards the end of my bottle, and I could definitely pop the cap off and refill it with a jar of multimedia, but also the little bottles are a great price too, so it would be worth it just to replace it. To adhere the elements that I want dimension to, I'm actually going to be using these Cool Tack clear foam adhesives and I got these from the Butterfly Reflections ink shop, because when these small little elements like the dog and the squirrel, I feel like sometimes if you use the white you can see it from the side of the card a little bit more, or you have to cut it into such small bits to make it work. But this clear adhesive comes in really great size squares, and you definitely aren't going to see it underneath your elements, or if you're looking from the side of the card. They are definitely a little bit more expensive than the foam tape, but on certain cards I think that it's worth it, or under certain images. I'm going to be adding this beat, and like I said before, I thought about which elements to add first, which would take up the most room, which would be the seesaw and the sun, and then I decided I would add the bee only if he fit later on. And I did find that I could add this little even trail to the bee. I didn't want to adhere the bee down until I had put the trail down, because I was going to pop him up on foam dots, and I didn't know if I could stamp the swirl as clearly if the bee had already been adhered. And then I will adhere the cloud and the bee based off of where the trail was actually stamped down. I switched over to the archival jet black ink for the sentiment in this case as well. Now I want to use the pink paper from the seesaw as a mat around this, because I had used the stitched rectangle die, which doesn't quite come to the edge, but I don't want to waste any Lawn Fawn paper, so I cut an even smaller stitched rectangle out of the center, put that aside for use on another project, and then adhered my panel on top of that cut apart piece of paper just to conserve paper a little bit. And then that's going to be it for my card today. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing more crafty videos, you can subscribe to my channel. Below, I'm going to leave you links to the Butterfly Reflections ink store so you can check out this and some of the other Lawn Fawn products that she has. Thanks for watching. Bye.